serial entrepreneur and an active startup ecosystem developer who has been promoting technological innovations in India through his various adventures and startup weekends. He founded over 7 startups in wireless technology, media, and rural development. Rural development, very interesting, before focusing full-time on ecosystem development work. His current focus is on developing the startup ecosystem in India by providing aspiring entrepreneurs a platform to pitch their ideas and get support in sustaining their ventures through his organization, Startup India, and providing physical shelters for validation of their ideas and enable collaborations through his co-working hubs, co-working space management. Besides that, Yakin is also the vice chairman of Global Entrepreneurship Network, Jet Asia, as well as the active managing director of Jet India, to strengthen India's presence globally and help India achieve international standards in entrepreneurship development. The floor is yours. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I would like to start my presentation with a small video. Morning, everyone.
Morning!
Morning.
Thank you for joining me this morning. I know it's very early. Everyone is still waking up. I hope you all had your share of coffee. I've got about 30 minutes, and my talk is on Make in India. So before I start, I would like to give you a quick overview of India. What exactly are we doing, where are we coming from, and then I'll go on to why Make in India and what exactly are we doing with Taiwan as per. So you would know we are actually the largest highly populated country. We've got about 1.34 billion people, and we've got about 29 states, an active young population, wherein about 70% of the population falls below the age of 35, and 91% of the population, which is below the age of 23, is fully literate, and we're expecting that figure to reach 99% by 2025. So as we move on from a developing nation to a developed nation with highly educated young population, one of the key challenges for us is how do we create jobs, how do we create skill sets, how do we bring in global talent into India, how do we get exposed to global knowledge and global innovations. So that's where in 2015 our Prime Minister started this initiative called Make in India, and I'm here to give you a quick overview of what exactly are we doing under that. So the new government took over in 2014, and the focus completely changed. Till 2014, there was a lot of dependence on imports. China has been one of the biggest exporter of goods to India, just like any other country. But we said, we have got the land, we have got the we've got the skill sets, we've got the people. So why don't we focus on building things ourselves? And that's when, with the Make in India campaign, we sort of reworked on our entire strategy. We figured out what were the gaps in our system and how do we sort of make changes on all those gaps. So these were the 4 pillars on which we started working. First one was the new processes. You know, as manufacturing modernizes, it's mostly about automation, it's mostly about large-scale production, it's mostly about corporatizing things. So we focus a lot on new processes, figuring out what kind of compliances we require, what kind of changes we require in existing compliances. Then we focused on building infrastructure around it. So from ports to roads to our rail network, which is one of the largest networks in the world, we started rebuilding all of those things primarily with the focus of making in India and then taking it overseas, or even if we make in India, we sort of use it for our own consumption. We opened up a lot of new sectors. I'll talk about that in my next slide. And we completely changed the mindset of people. So there were people who were moving from traditional business, traditional manufacturing economy into service economy. Everyone was looking forward to working for large corporations. But the minute you have a population of such a high young population which starts passing out of universities, the biggest challenge for you is to create new jobs. And for us, the challenge was how do we build at least 10 million jobs a month. So we expect to build about 12 million jobs a year to overcome our challenge of unemployment. So that's where these were some of the sectors which we focused on. So there were 26 sectors which government announced as key focus areas. I've listed 6 sectors over here. So the first one is automobile. So that's where we stand in the automobile sector. I don't know how many of you know that, but we are already the 3rd largest automobile manufacturing market in the world. Most of the large corporations have managed to establish their manufacturing unit in India, and most of the cars, be it from Ford, be it from Hyundai, are being manufactured in India and exported to the rest of the world. We have also got a few of our own local companies which have gone abroad and they have started manufacturing, they have started exporting their automobiles to other parts of the world. The second one is the electronics market. This is the biggest, and that's the reason why we are over here. Our market is expected to be at $400 billion by 2020, which is not too far. This is purely the electronics market because everything is getting on this platform. And Taiwan has a key role to play in that because we have got some vital stats for that. The third key sector for us is renewable energy, and with a key focus on solar power. So we have taken a lot of initiatives as a country on solar power. We made it mandatory for every new household unit and every new industry to adopt solar to overcome the power shortage in the country. So every time you establish a new unit, at least 10 to 15% of your power consumption has to be via solar. Government buys back that solar energy, they push it back onto the grid, and that's how we are overcoming the solar shortage, the power shortage in the country. The construction market, which is again expected to be at about 180 billion by 2020. The electrical machinery and the IT BPO market. So I don't need to talk much about this, but this is probably contributing 20% to our GDP as of now. These are some of the countries which have taken the key initiatives. So Japan has already established most of the automobile companies locally within India. We have got the United States, which has been active for quite some time. We've got Germany, which has again come in on the engineering side as well as on the automobile manufacturing side. We also have a manufacturing unit for BMW in the country now. Sweden has shown a lot of interest. Sweden is working very heavily on engineering equipment. Volvo established a factory in the country. And these were some of the electronic manufacturing units. So you can see the Chinese and the Koreans over here. There's Micromax, which you can see over here. That's a homegrown company which used to import cell phones from China, and they used to sell the cheapest cell phones in the country. They managed to establish a full electronics unit, and now they have diversified from cell phone manufacturing into all other electronics manufacturing. And then recently, even Foxconn came to the country. So why this relationship mattered to us, the Indo-Taiwanese connection? So this was surprising. Very few people, I think, know about it. Not much has been spoken about it. Last year in October, we had an Indo-Taiwanese industrial summit where we signed about 21 MOUs, and the major focus was on establishing R&D facility. It was on design and engineering. It was on smart manufacturing. But more than that, what matters to me is we managed to set up an incubator with Taiwan in Taipei City called Startup Board, which focuses on the ASEAN and the Indian startups. So these were some of the areas of collaboration which we focused on and which we have been pushing Taiwan to support us on. One is obviously manufacturing, prototyping, electronics design, firmware development, chip fabrication, and basically custom designing of any electronic products. So Taiwan has exceptional skills, and we have got the resources now to sort of take these things forward, and that's what we have been pushing for. And I think with our recently signed our partnership, these are the areas on which we are focusing between both the nations. So that's what our partnership looks like. The GE Asia passport. Why are we focusing on that, and what do we have in place? So Taiwan has a fairly relaxed visa policy. Even India relaxed its visa policy. So in most of the countries, it's an online visa application, so you don't have to go to the embassy anymore. You just go online, apply for a visa, you get a 30-day single entry, which can be extended to, I think, up to 60 days or something. It's a fairly easy process, and that's one of the big steps which India has taken to allow foreign talent to at least come to the country and explore the place. So this has given a big boost to trade as well as tourism. Then we have fast-tracked a lot of things. All the statutory compliances have been fast-tracked. We have established a dedicated facilitation corridor in form of Invest India if you plan to establish any unit of yourself in India. It's open to joint ventures. That's what the Gen India and Gen Taiwan partnership is all about. We have got all the entrepreneurs working on fabulous ideas, but somewhere they fail to establish themselves due to statutory clearances. So if you do a JV with an Indian entity, that also sort of fast tracks a lot of things. India opened up foreign direct investment about 18 months back. Almost 90% of the sectors were opened up. So now if you plan to invest money in India, it can be invested and you can have 100% ownership in your businesses. We have got easy access to the entire startup ecosystem. We have a dedicated startup policy. Our Prime Minister announced the whole initiative of Startup India in January of 2016, and since then every state has started coming up with their own set of startup policies and startup acts. So as of now, we have got access to 10 states and about 20 cities across the country. So if you find any area to be lucrative for you, we are very sure we will have that on our network. There's access to manufacturing hubs. We are also focusing a lot on smart manufacturing. We are building clusters in different parts of the country so that there are dedicated freight corridors, there's better highway connectivity, port connectivity to those areas. So if you ever have any sort of manufacturing need, things are more efficient. It's a completely digital economy. I don't know if you guys know that. On 8th of November 2016, we underwent demonetization, and that was the time when all of our money, primarily black money, came back into the banking system. And now there is whatever transactions you do in the country, it has to go through the banking system. To enable that transaction, India adopted the whole digital banking system. We are one of the most advanced fintech nations. So if you come in over there, even a roadside vendor won't accept cash, most likely. It's one QR code, you just scan your phone and the money is gone. So we've seen a lot of homegrown startups working in the fintech space who are there to support you with your businesses. And there are a lot of tax exemptions and subsidies available depending on the region which you choose, the kind of innovation you bring in, and the kind of vision you bring in to the country. So that's what I have, and I'm open to questions if you have anything, and then we can take things forward.
Before panel discussion, you may still have some questions to ask Young. Yeah. So, because the Make in India, I used to see a lot of watch TV, BBC,
Yeah.
lots of advertising in BBC. So making India is getting popular, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
It's like, don't make it China, make it India.
At least you consume what you produce in
Absolutely.
Right.
We are growing, we are a highly consumer-driven economy with 1.3 billion people. There's enough consumption.
Yeah.
Almost every person needs a cell phone. That's the reason you have $400 billion electronics by.
It really doesn't make sense. You always import things where you can actually produce it yourself. Right.
You can do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Tanya.
Hi, thanks very much for that. It's really interesting. So you mentioned that there was a process of bringing black money directly back into the economy recently. By how much has the economy grown as a result of that? I don't know if you know that.
We have maintained a 7% growth annually, even in global depression. What has happened, the benefit of the demonetization exercise was that most of the black money is usually controlled by a limited set of people, and most of the black money gets stagnated. It's lying idle, right? So it never comes back into the system because everyone is just stacking cash. Through the demonetization exercise, the entire money, at least there was close to $350 billion or something that was brought back into the banking system. That money is now being rotated in form of long-term debts, low-interest debts, in form of many other credit schemes which the government announced, even other financial institutions have announced that. The other big challenge was of taxation. I think last night I was discussing this with some of my colleagues. We only had 5% of the population paying taxes till 2016. And since last year, and specifically since this year, we have seen that number grow to 10 to 12%. It's still less, but we doubled from what the tax collections which we were having last year. We also announced the goods and service tax, so we consolidated two of our major taxes together. We used to have a separate service tax and the value-added tax that got consolidated in July of 2017. Now, whether you buy any good or service, whatever tax you are paying as a business, you can claim an input credit on that. That has given a lot of relief to most of the large businesses, and now you prefer to buy things domestically than importing goods from outside. We only do that if it's a big necessity. So those have been some of the major things.
Okay. Once again, let's give a big applause to Yatin.
Thank you so much.
Yatin will be one of our panelists, right? Yeah, right. So next, we would like to go into the case study because we all know that IoT product prototyping is a long series, it's a long process, lots of steps within this value chain. So we'd like to invite some of our local experts to share with you all their experiences in supporting their customers or clients in product design, development, prototyping, proof of concept, etc. So the first one, I would like to invite Mr. Gilbert Wu, who is chairman of Make to Real. Knowing that Gilbert not only experienced in, sorry, let me see. Yeah, Gilbert is the chairman of Make to Real. He is also chairman of Innovation Makers Consortium. So he used to be the general manager of Phoenix Net, general manager of Scanner Division of Lighton USA. He also led the product development team at Foxconn to get involved in Amazon Kindle development, Google Android wearable devices, etc. So you can see that he is very experienced in product development to provide services to, for example, Amazon, Apple, Sony, Philips, Walmart, you name it, including Best Buy, Newegg, MediaMarkt from Europe, and several telecoms in China. So Gilbert obtained his EMBA from National University of Singapore. So he now would like to share with you his concept of how to combine IoT with blockchain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I'm Taiwanese. I'm also a Hong Kongese because I also hold the Hong Kong residency. But most of my time for the past 10 years, actually over 15 years, is in China. Everybody knows all the big Taiwanese manufacturer have the manufacturing site in China, especially in Kunshan, in Shenzhen, okay? So today's my topic. I'm talking about the prototyping ecosystem. And my solution is to have an innovation chain by blockchain, okay? This is the table talking about everything. It gives all the whole concept about the product realization, the whole ecosystem, okay? Let's see from the top. So when we're talking about the innovation, there's innovation design, innovation realization, then we have to go to market, right? And go to market has from the pilot market to the mass market. So by doing that, first, you have to define your category. Are you in the AI category or IoT or blockchain category? Second, if you have the product, you need the money, right? So how do you do your financing? Then how to do your marketing? Then the key issue here, product. In different stage, see from the different stage, you have different product realization stage. So when we talk about a product in Foxconn, now the rule becomes everybody know that from level 1 to level 10. Okay, so we break down the system from level 1 to level 5 is molding for mechanical enclosure. Okay. So when I say level 1 or level 5, we are talking about enclosure, plastic, molding, whatever. Then level 6, PCBA, electronics parts. And level 7 to level 10 is system integration. So every time we do when we talk to actually Apple was my customer. we deal with Apple, we see when we are talking about level 1 or level 5 or level 10, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Then we go ahead to do it. So in each level, a different way to deal with it. So most of the maker, they don't understand the system here. Then everybody talking about the prototype actually is still in the, actually it's a 0 to 1 stage, innovation design from here, right? Prototyping. Mostly level 1 to 10 is a handmade. And PCBA's no validation. The molding is 3D printing. When we talk about this is the most important part to hear is there. When we have to do the realization 1 to thousands, you have to do the product realization 3 stage, EVT, DVT, and PVT. So EVT is engineering validation, design validation, production validation, a step. So let me take one example. Just 2 years ago, there's a maker from Sweden come to me. But at the time, I already left Fastcom, running for executive consultant for some company. And he came to me and he said, Gilbert, I want to do a swatch. The watch is for the children. It's very popular right now in China. And he said, I have very good software, I believe. Okay, but I need somebody to manufacture the watch for me. Then I talked with him about this concept. He don't understand. It doesn't matter. I got some guy in China, in Shenzhen. He know everything. He will take care for me. After 4 months, I was met him in the CES. Then in April time, he come back. Gilbert, whatever you talked to me before, it happened. I screw up because he got the money from the Kickstarter, over $100,000, spend it all, and got zero, nothing. Nothing. First, he made one mistake. He designed the enclosure first. It's wrong. The process is wrong. He made the tooling first. I say, you didn't make your design your chipset, because the chipset, the PCBA, is the basic limit function. You have to make that first. Then you go to the enclosure design. No, he just design the enclosure. And finally he found out it's totally waste of his money, because once he get the PCBA done, he cannot fit into the enclosure. Screw up. And that PCBA doesn't work. No validation. I give you one example. In the China, there are a lot of small companies. They come to me like, Gilbert, I have a very good quality product. I say, what is quality? Can you tell me? Oh, quality is quality. No, I say, quality is scarce item. In April, for the Apple product, some of I cannot say it. I cannot name the product. But I can let you know, in Apple, the test plan is okay at all. So all in each stage have a test plan. Even in the software, we have a SQA, software quality assurance. For the F-over, very basic from 240. So a lot of test plan you need to do. That's why we say it's validation. Engineering and validation, design, and production. So we call the NPI, new product introduction here. The cost is very high, of course. You need to do so much thing. You have to cost down in here, mass production here. But only thing, most of the maker, they don't have this kind of concept. They don't prepare themselves for that. They have no idea, no clue at all. What's that? DBT, it's too difficult for them, So nobody coach them, nobody teach them. Most of this knowledge, or in the Taiwanese big electronic EMS, they know all these things. But not many small manufacturers know that. They don't have a whole picture of the product realization. So that's the problem right now happening. So when the buyer, they buy a product from the Kickstarter, after 3 months, 6 months, the maker cannot deliver the product. Big problem. So they screw up. The whole thing, they lose their credit. They not only lose their own credit, but lose the whole platform credit. So everybody lose the faith for the product. So the good thing from the innovation, but a bad result. Okay. So that's why we have to look at the key problem here. How to solve the problem? Okay, trust. No trust, because it always fail. How do we solve the trust problem? So blockchain. We say, well, what was the blockchain? How come can you deal with this? Let's see. So this way, when you do the innovation, you're actually talking about the maker's innovation and the product realization and the crowdfunding, right? These three guys is separate right now. They deal with it and then separate. They don't talk to each other. But with the blockchain, with using a smart contract, we can use the supply chain product realization guy as a core enterprise. Let's take an example. If. So I have a friend here, Ray. He has a company. He's making the whole system. He stand out. He said, "I'm the core enterprise." So the maker come to him. So I have a good thing I want to make it. And Ray say, "Okay, let me take a look and do the estimation and making a project for him." And then you tell him, your cost is $5. Oh no, impossible, I make it handmade only $2. No, $5. Without my profit, I have to add another $2, $7 if you want to sell. So you may be selling as a $10. But Ray, well, he made the promise to the Kickstarters or the buyers saying, I guarantee this maker can make $10 good product. I make the promise for the delivery. That's the trust, right? So this guy, oh, okay, great, I know he's making a very good product, okay? He promised to deliver, so they buy it because no, whatever, they will go to Ray, hey, Ray, you make a promise on that, right? So this is the whole thing. Blockchain actually is using the smart contract to build a trust among this guy. Now, how to do that? Well, it's a very big long talk. We don't talk about that. It's about time, right? Okay. So that will be all. So if you have any question, I'm pleased to answer. And using my WeChat or Line, and you can contact with me after this session. Thank you.
Now you can see how experienced the big giver is. Actually, after so many years in this field, in product development, as well as from design actually to realization. So our track subject has to do with rapid IoT prototyping. So that is a broad name. Actually, it contains all the life cycle. So afterwards, in the panel discussion, you may raise some questions for Gilbert. Thank you, Gilbert. Okay. Next, I would like to invite Ray to come on the
是没有
stage.
断吧？很闪。
Ray has over 10 years of experience as a sales and ODM EMS field, and has a rich
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, everybody. Today, I will present a little bit about mining training and mining and how it is to do with a maker and startups. So, first, we briefed about our company. We start our business in 19. We already run the business with the Acer Group as their subcontracting partners. And 1996, one of the big ENS company called Wistron, they moved to China, and we as a subcontractor as Wistron, and we moved to China as well. And we set up the additional facility in 2008. Is mainly for overseas business, and 4 years ago we also set up the new facility in Taiwan. Is mainly for optical business, and 2016 we started the MightyNet in the Tsinghua University, which is the top 3 of the Taiwanese university, and last year we also set up our Taipei office, and this year we will set up our Tainan office. So basically, we do have about 200 people in Taiwan and 4 offices in the city, and additional 2 facilities in Dongguan, China. So it's about 800 people. So the main market share we currently have is 40% from Europe, and 38% from North America, and the rest of them is from Asia. But if you look at this customer, probably people know the Acer, know the MediaTek, and Wistron, but there are some of the Fortune company. Ubiquity is actually the story. We are start working our business with the Star. Ubiquity is our star company. They start their business in 2005. It's with about 20 people. And initially, it's the founder, Robert Pera, that left Apple, and the founder of Ubiquity is Star Corporate Earth, Star with the wireless module. And within 6 years, he becomes the IPO company in Nasdaq, and contribute a billion and billion business to Earth. And in 2014, Rob Pera becomes the top 10 youngest billionaire in the world. So it's the first unicorn we made in 2011. So it's the guy look like very young. He's born on the 1978, and he also bought the physics Grizzlies as an NBA crew. So he's the owner of the NBA team. So after this one, we started what we can do, how we can find the next unicorn in our career, in our in mind. So when we look at the survey from the Hacks, is the famous IoT accelerator, so there are lots of the unicorn. So the company here, their market value is over the 10 billion. And the number here, there are 4 times since from the 2014. This means that the Huawei unicorn is increased a lot. And secondly, lots of the biggest companies start merge or invest in the Huawei innovation. No matter Google, Intel, Facebook, even the software company like the Baidu, they invest a lot of different kinds of software and Huawei company. But the realize for the Huawei start after the Albert just mentioned, the truth is, if you are doing the Huawei stuff, you jump off the cliff and you ascend the airplane on the way down. It's the truth of the Huawei stuff. So the default is fail because of the gravity. And it's really hard for the Huawei star to survive. So you can see there are 382 Huawei stars, but yeah, and even the very success for the Huawei star like the Pebble, like the Jumbo, they are not they are failed in the end. So we say the Huawei is hard. So everybody knows Huawei is hard. But the question mark is, what is the hard part? I would say manufacturing is easy because when we start talking about manufacturing, the skill from the manufacturing is really old. Can you tell the picture from our factory? How old is the picture? Because of time, so I just replied, this is last year picture. But what I would like to mention is the whole the process for the manufacturing is old. So what is the really hard part? The first part is integration, because like this one is one of our customers. They do the small wearable device, so they need a different kind of sensor on the clothing to do the VR and control. But the integration between different industry, the wearable clothing industry and another part electronic industry, is a different area. So to do the integration between the two industries make the Huawei very hard. Another part will be the scale. As Gilbert just mentioned, to make the one piece, you can do the handmade. But if you are doing the 100 piece, 1,000 piece, billion piece, it's a different scale. So you need a different equipment, different skill, different resource. So let's talk more of the project. This is a very famous project from Taiwan. We call it's for CAD device. So they are the camera. They can have the weight to detect the camera, which camera they are, and feed them with the feed and the water. But when they succeed in the crowdfunding, they are going to the manufacturing. The budget of the whole project is over $1 million US dollar. They are scared. Why? We just get about 50 half a million from the crowdfunding, but you need to charge the factory need to charge $1 million US dollar. The reason is because the mold tuning, the tuning cost to make the product is very, very high cost. So they start to change their design to make the different parts combine together to shrink and cost down the tuning cost. And in the end, it becomes a cell phone. Whole the tuning is disappeared. Another part is Deno. Deno is from UK, so it's a very successful project from the Kickstarter as well. But the project failed as well because they two success. They are 20 times beyond the target. So the two success force the team to expand their production scale for each order, and they rush into the production before the function had been done. Another one will be the kiosk. This is a very famous smartwatch. They are waterproof and they can control by voice, and they are successful in the Indiegogo with 1.5 million. But in the end, they failed because they do not have any relationship with the solution provider, but only one factory, and they paid 15% of the money to secure some of the key components. We call the LCDs, and they are just a marketing team. They are zero knowledge with the Huawei 3. So from this fair story, we found it's really hard to have the good Huawei star, and because most of the Huawei star they don't understand something. The first thing